Hi, and welcome to The Leader's Edge. I'm Emily Chiwa, and with me is Georgia Donaldson. We are leadership coaches on a mission to help you sharpen your competitive advantage and make a positive impact in your organization and community. Today, we're talking about the messy, unwritten rules of leadership that we've bought all the management books. I know we have several of them stacked up in our office somewhere or in our bookshelves. We've read some of them, and they all tell us to collaborate and be vulnerable. But yes, exactly, Georgia. But when the pressure hits us in the boardroom, in the workplace, that idea of being collaborative and vulnerable can turn into a psychological battlefield. Our title today is Name It to Tame It. And it is a psychological concept about giving words to messy emotions so that they lose their power. Here to unpack it with us is our guest, psychologist Dr. Peter Weller. And as usual, I'm going to turn you over to Georgia to introduce Dr. Weller. While she does that, just think about it. How good are you with this idea of vulnerability and collaboration when under pressure? Just think of that, and we'll have Georgia introduce Dr. Weller.
Thank you very much, Emily. I'm happy that we're here today on a Monday. They're not seeing the couch that we have, because we have a psychologist in the house and psychologists come with the couch. But, folks, we have Dr. Peter Weller with us. And who is he? Have you heard of the term community and clinical psychologist? That's what he is. And he has been doing that for over 30 years. He has that experience as a therapist, an organizational consultant, a trainer, and a researcher. All of that in one gentleman. Can you believe? He went to Howard University. He went to Emory University. That's where he got his PhD in clinical psychology. And Dr. Weller has worked extensively in leadership development. He has worked across the Caribbean, and he has also worked in workplace wellness, organizational change, disaster, mental health, right across this region. And so, the perfect person to talk to us about these leadership paradoxes that we have is Dr. Weller. Dr. Weller, welcome and thank you for joining us on The Leader's Edge. Good to have you.
Yeah, my pleasure, my pleasure. In 15 minutes, we're going to try and do some unpacking. But, in Jamaica, we have a saying, pressure bust pipe.
Oh, it's
Well,
right across the region.
right across the region. So you understand that, first of
Mhm.
all, we're not going to let pressure bust our pipe today. We're going to go with a flow, find a nice flow, and try and look at these issues. But really, as you said, we live in a time where there's so much stimulation. The pressure is great. And we think about pressure and we always think about it as negative stress. But really, there's just a lot going on from
Mhm.
the AI, internet
Mhm.
sources to all the geopolitics to COVID to natural disasters in Jamaica and the region. We've had our hurricanes. It's just a lot going on. And as leaders, it's hard. I'm very glad I'm not a leader of anything except me. Because in these times, it is challenging. I'm,
Yes.
Yes.
and I have problems leading me too. So let me just put that out there. Um,
Mhm.
but the reality
He's showing the
is
vulnerability.
that, well, I'm being authentic. But guess what? It means that we're all being triggered. And I think one of the concepts when we talk about name it to tame it is this whole idea that there's a lot going on. And until you can identify it, name it, you can't really get your handle on it. And it's not only emotions, it's all the thoughts, all the memories, all the expectations you have of yourself, other people have of you, and of course the responsibilities. So, name it to tame it is a way of saying, listen, let's do that inward reach. First of
Mhm.
all, you have to understand yourself and that outward stretch to get that balance so that then when you have the information, you can file it in an effective way and use it. And it's about taming, which is really about controlling. It's not blaming, it's not
Mhm.
shaming, it's not looking at other people and saying it's your fault or you should
Right.
have known better than that. No.
Yeah.
Let's learn how to name it and tame it.
We
Yeah.
like that. We like that, Doc. You know what we're thinking about? We're thinking about team members when they're under stress. And what you think makes them regress when they're talking about collaboration? So they no longer want to collaborate. They now want someone like a parent to control and to come like that savior from high to save them.
Well, under stress you regress.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cliche, but it's true. Under stress you regress.
Mhm.
So what happens is that when there is stress, and I have to back up a little and say we need to be very careful in our conversations that we're not talking about an instance. We're talking about a process, and we're talking about therefore the implications from policies right to practices, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So under stress we all regress. No problem. The pipe leaks a little bit, but it
Mm-hmm.
don't bust. It just leak a little bit. All right. So we can expect that, and most of us know how to handle that. You get a little irritated, you take a deep breath, you say, all right, she's an idiot, he's an idiot, and we take them off. Really not pleasant, but that is what is going on in our heads. I can't bother with them.
Mhm.
I'm not letting them pressure me. The problem is that when we have crises, whether it's an organizational, financial crisis, a hurricane coming, or the bigger things like the Strait of Hormuz, etc., that
Mhm.
pressure increases and the cracks begin to open.
Mm-hmm.
And part of what happens then is that what is in there starts leaking out. But it doesn't leak out in its pure form. It leaks out via these other little pipelines that come from the past. And in COVID, we learned a lot about pre existing conditions. What
Mhm.
happens before puts you at risk or can make you resilient.
Mm-hmm.
What we have to be aware of and what leaders have to be aware of is that when people start cracking under stress, we need to not only try to support them, patch it up, but we also need to be reminded of what we know about them because it's not usually surprising when people crack under stress. When we crack, we know exactly why it happened and we know what was going on in our head, or we should. And I think that's the point I want to make for particularly for leaders. If you're up the learning curve, if you're ahead of the stream, you need to understand your mental processes and be empathic with others. When
Mm-hmm.
you're under stress, you hear your granny saying what she used to say that you put it down. When you're under stress, remember what the teacher said. When you're under stress, all of these things, your wife's expectations, your husband's expectations, they all start coming up. And then they start like blinkers. You start seeing things in a very narrow way. And you don't understand what is going on and you can't name it, so you can't tame it. What
Wow.
then happens is that you seek some kind of security because that's a key issue here. The uncertainty is all about security. And
Mhm.
really, for many of us, security is having somebody take control for us,
That's
somebody
very.
telling us what to do. Now, here's the challenge: the workplace is a particularly significant area of security because it's not just only psychological security, it's financial security, it's your family's security, it's your dreams, it's your future. So when you feel insecure in the workplace, when you bring your external insecurities into the workplace and they begin to get amplified by the crisis, it
Mm-hmm.
can really be a serious problem for productivity,
Right.
Yeah.
teamwork, etc. So
Yeah.
some
So
thoughts.
people So, Doc, is it that people are shutting down, as you say, they want this savior leader, but what we all need is actually to collaborate and to open up. And you're saying that if we all recognize that we are feeling stressed, we're under pressure, maybe all collectively take a deep breath and decide, I don't know, to name it together.
Well, I
That
think
That's
can
a
you're on
good
the
point.
right track. You're on
that
the
can
right
Yeah.
probably
track.
start to
It's
fix
not
to address it. Do you think?
it's not about what you do in the moment as much as what you have learned to do, your habits of thinking, your policies in your company, etc. When a
Mm-hmm.
crisis hits, that's not the time. When the earthquake is happening, that's not the time to go to look up online what you must do in an earthquake, right? And
Absolutely.
when
Certainly
the
not.
earthquake is happening, if you haven't had practice in finding the safe spot, you are not going to do it automatically. So I think one of the takeaways from this is that it has to start with policies and corporate culture. A
Mm-hmm.
leader cannot go to a workshop or a McKinsey training or something like that and all of a sudden come back to work on Monday and be different and expect people to be different with them.
Yes,
It's a
yes.
Exactly.
process of change. And too often, our leaders are not, how should I put it? I want to say taught, but
Mm-hmm.
they're not made aware that that change process they're trying to facilitate in their organization has to start from them. They can't
Right.
flip a switch, come to work, and think everybody's going to forget all that happened last month, last year, 2 years ago. And it
Mm-hmm.
needs to be part of a strategic plan. And you'll feel far more comfortable because you will be more authentic if what you're representing is something that you're working on yourself and you're sharing in stages. Not coming in all of a sudden it's kumbaya and all of a
Mm.
sudden you want everybody to hold hands and have lunch together and so on. When before they never saw you, when before you only had lunch in your office.
Mm-hmm.
You have to work it through. And it's good for
Doctor,
you too, because you feel more genuine in doing it as opposed to faking it till you make it, which people can see because under pressure, faking shows up even more.
Yeah.
mhm. That's when the cracks show up even more. Yes. So, Doc, we
Exactly.
were we were unpacking that one about that savior complex. Let's talk about another one where generally people want their leaders to be vulnerable and authentic, and then under pressure they're saying, "But wait, they really don't know what they're doing. They're incompetent." How do we deal with that paradox of what level of vulnerability leaders need to show?
Well, I think it gets back to this issue of you're not going to flip a switch and go
Mm.
from tough man to soft man and not
Yeah.
frighten people, right?
And
So
not frighten people.
yeah,
Exactly.
no, it's fine,
Yeah.
people, man. I need this job. I need this money. I need to make sure this job is safe. This company is safe. I don't want to hear you say you're not sure what is going on and you're feeling
Absolutely.
at risk. And if no, what I need to hear you say is that, folks, we've always talked about how we handle situations like this. You remember in the past we talked about naming and taming it. You remember that workshop Dr. Weller did 2 years ago. You remember what happened when the products didn't come in on time, and we talked about it. So here, this is a situation that's perhaps even more threatening, but we have the skills. Now, I feel uncomfortable. I wish I could be more sure, but I know that in the past, this has worked, this has worked, this has worked. I also know that this is new, this is different, and we're going to have to flex. But guess what? We're not blank slates. We have competencies, we have skills. Let's talk about it, let's collaborate, let's co create. I
Mhm.
think we can build on what we have done before. My point here is not just giving a script, but saying it's a process. And it begins long before the incident to which you're trying to refer. You have
Yeah.
to set up a system.
Yeah, I like that you also refer to reminding the team collectively of capability.
Of
Yes.
So
course,
that
because you want to be positive.
correct.
Yes,
We have
you want
done
to
we
be
have done
positive.
things like this before. This is not the first, the first rally around. We will get through this like we've got through other things in the past, and
Yes.
we might not have all the answers, but we will work them out. So there's
And,
a
Awesome.
level of
and
That's a
honesty,
great
but
step.
not throwing the hands up in the air like you know.
Yes. Yes.
however, there's one little caveat, one little
Yes.
addition.
Mm-hmm.
In doing that, you don't want to sound like you're diminishing their stress. So you
Right.
have to balance that with, gosh, this is really rough. I mean, when we look at all those things out there, it could really make you feel unstable, like the ship doesn't have any anchor or sail. But guess what? We do have. And you know this, and our policy has always been this. And I can tell you, I feel that too. But I have my XYZ that
Mm-hmm.
keeps me focused, and I want you to do it because we've done this in training before. So you keep referring back to the corporate culture, the corporate experience that has addressed these issues. You don't come in Monday morning, flip a switch, and try to make people feel that they're safe without any rationale.
That
Yeah.
is so important. Doc, you're giving us a blueprint and you're giving us the template. And I'm happy, Emily, that this is a recording that they will be able to see over and over again because they're watching it now, but people need to come back to this to get a reference point so that when they're faced with challenges, and they're going to be faced with these challenges, you have something that you can pull and draw on.
Yep.
This is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I
And
already
also
see
what.
the second episode of this one, Em.
Yeah,
I
and I
would
was
want to
going to
make,
say, go ahead,
I'm
Dr.
going to
Weller.
make two quick points that I
Yes.
think
Yes.
are relevant. Personality is a lens through which we operate. And
Mm-hmm.
each of us has, one of us may be very outgoing, and that might then cause us to get a lot of attention. And if we have some competences, it will move us through the system. But guess what? That outgoing personality may be a mask for insecurities. It may be an attention-seeking thing. And when that person rises in the system and those cracks show, like with all of us, their cracks are more toxic because they lose objectivity. They begin to be more needy and they're not really producing. So we, and I'm taking this back to a process, have to look at our selection process, our recruitment process, our promotion process, and understand what are the strengths that could later become weaknesses. Not everybody has a personality disorder or a toxic behavioral pattern, but all of us have those cracks, and our system needs to be set in place to know that, hey, Peter is very outgoing. He gets people engaged, and he's a good leader because of that. However, Peter can't take criticism. So we know that we need to give him some coaching, etc.
Right.
Don't wait until there's a crisis and the staff are angry at Peter because they told him what to do and he didn't do it, to then send Peter to me as a therapist to try to unwind everything that could have been done before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how we look at this
Well,
is very
send them to
important.
you or send them to us as coaches.
Yeah.
And expect
Well,
an immediate
well,
fix.
Yeah.
Because I can't, no, and I think it's a serious issue because whereas a psychotherapist may be able to go into the internal psychological dynamics, but not yet, but may not be as good at, focusing on the problem and the skills that need to be used in the workplace, which is what a coach can do. You can't deal with those psychological issues. You are not trained to look at the trauma they experienced when they were 15, etc. Yet that is what is widening the crack. So, you will coach, they'll get counseling, HR will do all kinds of workshops, they'll do the DISC and the Myers-Briggs and everything. And the person, they're not stupid because they've been in the organization, they have sense. This is not an intellectual thing, this is an emotional thing. They will say, yes, I understand, check all the boxes, go back to work, and somebody will just stick them. And a crisis will come. And you see them regressing. And you say, well, I don't understand, Peter. Peter seemed to get it and he changed. Yes, he changed up here. He didn't change in here.
Right.
And we will provide the right kind of support to help him make that sustainable change. So that's, I think a really important issue. So the policies have to be there with the programs. And we have to remember those pre-existing conditions.
Yeah. This has moved, Doc, from a second episode to a whole series now. Emily?
Yes.
So this one.
I think where we need to get to action. I think one of the threads Peter, Dr. Weller said from the start was that none of these things is about flipping a switch.
Yeah.
It speaks to doing the work over time.
Yes.
That allows us to be able to show up in a crisis, in a stress situation at a particular level that would allow us to keep the ship steady.
Yes.
And so for leaders, the work is now, or wherever you are. If you haven't been doing the work, start.
Yes.
Because we need to prepare ourselves always to be able to handle whatever life throws at us. And you know what? Life likes to throw all sorts of things at us.
All sorts of things. And, we're coming into the hurricane season now. We're in the pre-hurricane season, early stages. There's a lot of anticipatory anxiety in Jamaica building on all the trauma from Melissa.
Oh, gosh.
We have to factor that in, and we're going to find that people's cracks are going to start opening up with this anticipatory anxiety. If it hits again, can I afford what is needed? I haven't fixed the house yet. My granny in the country is still without a roof, etc., etc. I think there's a lot of supportive work in which this kind of leadership is needed, this kind of awareness. As you say, it starts now, but it's not about now. It's about the past, the present, and the future.
Yes. So, Doc, anything you want to say about naming it and taming it before we leave anymore? Or can we just wrap there?
Well, there's so much more I can say. I think the one thing I'd say is that it begins with the individual. And as a leader, we are under so much pressure and stress that sometimes we are busy doing and not stopping and thinking about ourselves.
Yes.
Take care of yourself. Practice that balanced self care, and it allows you to be empathic with the need of your staff. And let that lens through which you look at the process be one that has named the issues so that you can
Mhm.
address them properly, and not something that is all cloudy because you've been avoiding dealing with reality. Let's deal with reality. And when you name it, you can tame it effectively.
Wow.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Thank you so much, Dr. Weller. This has been a wonderful session with you, listening to you speak and share on this idea of naming it and taming it. And I know, as Georgia said, that I think this is one that people should come back to over and over because there are so many nuggets and
Mhm.
things that we can review and then put into practice or start implementing or working towards implementing wherever we see the potential cracks might be for us. So thank you again, Dr. Weller. It's
Thanks
been
for
a
having me.
having you. Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Take care,
Take
everyone.
care.
Have a
Keep up
great
the good
week.
work. All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye,
Bye now.
everyone.